Okay, good morning, everybody. At least those of us on the West Coast here. My name is Shantanu Surpure. I'm the co-chair of the North America chapter of the Crypto Valley Association. And so we have this is our first virtual event that we're hosting by the North America chapter of the Crypto Valley Association. I'll wait a few more minutes before I speak more because I can see more participants are coming. So give it a few more minutes while people come in, and then we can start in just maybe one more minute or 30 more seconds. Okay, I think we'll keep going then. So as I was saying, this is the first event that we're having for the North America chapter of the Crypto Valley Association. And normally what I've seen in Crypto Valley is we often have, we have many events, including virtual events like this one, but often they tend to be on more technical matters, such as crypto custody or a particular protocol. This one, I haven't actually seen this sort of panel hosted before, really on a much more broad topic, which is careers in crypto, which is, I think, very interesting because all of us are obviously in this space, but we do many different things. It's not the case that everybody is a tech expert in the crypto space. There are all kinds of opportunities and positions. It's a new and evolving field constantly. And so I think that's something interesting to consider. On this panel, we have, by design, actually a wide variety of individuals from different geographies, as well as different types of positions they hold. Some people are in government, and some people are in search consulting, and others are in protocols or investors. And so we have all types of perspectives, which we wanted to have them address. What types of careers are available in crypto? Are they hiring? How should people design their careers? And these questions could be, answered from a student or a mid-career professional or experienced professional, someone who wants to get into this space. There are different angles we can explore. One thing I wanted to talk about is clearly we are in a crypto winter, and just to provide some context, funding is clearly down. The market cap of crypto is down. I think the stats I saw, it was 3 billion earlier, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. Now it's 1.5 trillion US dollars. And so there is a pullback in the space generally. However, I think that the space is not completely dead. Certainly there are still a lot of things going on under the surface. Maybe there's a lot less publicity, but there are things still happening in the space. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I read about a new protocol called the Canton Network, which a number of financial institutions have joined, including Goldman Sachs, Microsoft, Deloitte, and others. And I think that shows that there are still large-scale institutions still adopting this technology. And so I think, for example, one of the quotes I saw here, which is really interesting, it says that the institutional adoption of Web3 was still robust this year and last year, despite a slump in digital asset prices. This current announcement about the Canton Network signals that some firms still positively view blockchain tech as has a lot of potential, despite a regulatory cloud in the US and the harm caused by several crypto native collapses, of which we're all aware. And so that shows that there are still opportunities in the space, and companies, large companies, are still out there using this technology, and there are use cases that are still being applied and will be figured out. I think some of the space in crypto has, the thunder has been taken away in some ways by the new thing, which is AI, artificial intelligence. Possibly there's a lot of overlap between AI and crypto, as well as AI and crypto and fintech. And so all of these skills can be kind of useful in this space. I think a lot of people also have this notion that to get into the crypto space, you need to have a lot of technical expertise, and that's not necessarily the case. There are all types of positions or opportunities in crypto. It could be legal, it could be compliance, it could be marketing, it could be finance, as well as generally in the sort of software development or tech development space. And so I think there are all kinds of skill sets that could be applicable. And if you have an interest, this is a good opportunity to learn from folks active in the space, and some of them have been active in the space for quite a long period time and are pioneers. So let me introduce the panel, and then we can get into the questions. I'm just going to go in maybe it's semi-alphabetical order. The first person I have is Brandon Burke, who's a special agent with the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I don't know which office he's located in, but he is a member of the FBI high-tech organized crime task force. He's over 15 years of experience with the FBI, and he's part of the virtual currency response team, and has a lot of experience in sort of, I would say, compliance, encrypted applications, complex money laundering schemes. And so I think these are certainly the negative aspects of crypto in some way, but certainly it's a lot of opportunities in this space as well, because all of this space is getting regulated and very important. So we'll come back to, I just want to do a broad overview of everybody, and then we'll come back to the specific panels. And the next I have Samantha Pelosi, who's the Chief Compliance Officer and Regulatory Counsel of Cube, which is a crypto exchange, actually, that combines CeFi and DeFi. And here, she's done a lot of things in the crypto space. She's actually an attorney as well. And she's held a lot of different compliance and policy roles, including at the Federal Reserve, in the U.S. Treasury Department, as well as at a large international law firm. And so these are two people who I had mentioned that have government experience in particular. And so there's a lot of opportunity in the government space. I also have Philippe Reynier, who is in Switzerland itself, and he's the managing director of Sheffield Haworth, which is a global search firm. He's global head of fintech, and he spent over 5 years at UBS as well, where he was focused on digital strategy, and he was at BCG prior to that. And so I think he'll be able to give us a good insight from a search firm perspective at a high level, what sort of private sector jobs are there. And we also have Stacey Strasser, who is a general partner at the Cincinnati Crypto Fund and the Crypto Exchange Fund, as well as an Opportunity Zone Fund, and as well as she's also one of the initial investors in 10xTS, which is a blockchain startup focused on the digitization of assets. So she can tell us more about what that specifically means. But that's our panel. I think very wide sort of range of skill sets and backgrounds in that panel. But I think what we could do is go through, and I was able to summarize their bio to some extent. But I think it'd be helpful if each person spoke for a few minutes about their own background and what they can add to that in terms of what's relevant to the crypto space. And then we'll just combine the questions. So in that same question, they also ask the next question, which is, in your company or organization, what is its involvement in the crypto Web3 space? What kind of product services does your company offer, regulate, or enforce? So maybe we can start in the same order, just because I went to the bios in the same space. So if we could start with Mr. Burke, please, and then we'll move on to the others. Thank you.
Hi, this is Brandon Burke. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. So I am a special agent with the FBI, as he mentioned. I've been with the FBI for approximately 15 years, and I'm very honored to be here. And whenever I get a chance to talk about, again, you had mentioned more of a negative perspective, but yeah, I definitely have a filtered lens as I view cryptocurrency as it relates to my job. So professionally and personally, sometimes doesn't align as it relates to crypto. But as far as my profession is concerned, over the last 5 years, I have been specifically involved with investigating cryptocurrency. As far as taking a step back, over the last 15 years, I have investigated large transnational criminal organization that spans the globe, cyber criminal networks, all conducting sophisticated money laundering schemes, involving fiat currency, and obviously most recently cryptocurrency. As part of my job daily, I am involved with engaging with private industry, specifically blockchain intelligence companies, under other industry partners in an effort to assist with their compliance, to communicate back and forth with them as I and the team that I work with try to investigate these organizations that are leveraging virtual assets to commit whatever crime they're committing. And also a part of that, an ancillary duty I have at the FBI, and I'll mention this later in the broader context of careers in crypto, the FBI has really invested a lot of resources over the last 2 or 3 years in understanding this space and how it relates to ongoing criminal matters and also the impact from an intelligence standpoint for our country. And so as a member of that group, which is called the Virtual Currency Response Team, we support both other FBI partners within the United States, overseas, other federal agencies and other foreign partners in investigating these schemes that are involved with cryptocurrency.
Okay, no, that's super helpful. I think, as part of this regulatory compliance, in some ways, in order for this industry really to thrive, it has to come out of, the quote shadows and become more mainstream. And I think this is a big part of that the industry, I think, has had some negative perceptions. And the more it's cleaned up to some extent, the better it will be and become more mainstream. I think, exactly what you're doing, and also the more sort of large scale institutional adoption. So I mentioned this other financial services network, which just got announced last week, where some very large financial institutions are joining that. That will also put pressure to sort of make this industry more transparent in many ways. And because I think the underlying technology, we all see the value of it, but at the same time, it has to be used in the right fashion. So I think that's great.
Yes, and absolutely. And as it impacts crime, obviously the U.S. dollar impacts crime significantly as well. We are chartered. We have a mission to protect U.S. citizens and protect U.S. companies, and so a part of that is understanding the fundamentals of cryptocurrency, and that's kind of the journey that I've been on over the last 5 years with the Bureau, learning about cryptocurrency and tracing it. And it's been a lot of fun.
Okay, fantastic. All right, well, thank you, Brandon. I could ask Samantha to go next, really on the same thing, about your professional background, particularly in the crypto space, and then what your company does in this space.
Sure. Thanks a lot. So I think it's actually a nice dovetail to some of the issues that Brandon raised in his background. So I'm an attorney, and I've been in financial services for my entire career, which is unfortunately becoming quite lengthy. We all grow older. So I started at a large law firm doing, international law and project financing deals abroad and foreign investment, et cetera. But I also did sanctions and export control work, and those are still relevant today. Years and decades later. How I came into cryptocurrency is really through financial services, because no matter where you sit with the regulation of crypto, whether it's a commodity or a security or a currency, it is definitely financial services. And so I came into it from the fact that I was a compliance officer at a money transmitter. And in the US, money transmitters are, crypto exchanges are regulated by the states as money transmitters and money exchangers. And so I had that aspect of it. Also from the aspect of from payments. Crypto is used for payments. It's also used kind of for investment and a store of value. And so I definitely have had that kind of stream following that line of finance and banking as well. I started looking at financial crime compliance and anti-money laundering and sanctions compliance very early on in my career. So right after the law firm, I went to FinCEN after 9/11 and participated in the writing of the regulations. So I'm really the lawyer, the interpreter of law, the crafter of regulations, and then compliance with those regulations internally at corporations. As Brandon is more on the enforcement side, right? You break the law, you break the regulations, and he may come after you. So I really backed into to the crypto area when I was at the Federal Reserve working in the payments division, which is the same division that's looking into central bank digital currencies. And we launched a number of retail payment initiatives when I was there. And I was the head of retail, including faster payments in the United States and chip and pin cards, etc. And I wrote a lot of consumer protection laws under Dodd-Frank when I was at the Fed. So most recently, I've done some consulting work in crypto. And then right before Cube, I was at an NFT company that had nothing to do with financial services. However, I do think that NFTs will have a large role actually in financial services in our future. And then I moved to Cube, which is a pretty new startup exchange. And you may be wondering why we need yet another exchange. We think that we do have the secret sauce. We have a MPC wallet that allows our users to maintain control of their crypto if we go bankrupt. We don't pull your assets in with us to bankruptcy, like happened with FTX and other organizations. At the same time, if you do end up being a terrorist, we can freeze your assets in the wallet so they can't be further transferred out. We also have a very special matching engine that speeds up the matching process for trades, as well as increased transparency. And perhaps we'll talk about this more. But with a crypto winter, I don't really think that crypto is dead, and certainly blockchain technology is not dead. But I do think there has been a weeding out of bad actors, actors that are just kind of fast and loose with any kind of laws, not even financial services laws, but just general governance and operation of their firms. So I think there's going to be kind of the survival of the fittest, of the strongest, and we're going to see the firms kind of double down and work on their technology, work on internal controls, and building out resiliency and redundancies. And really, we're coming into a new era of regulation. If not in the United States, unfortunately, we are quite behind and quite disorganized. But abroad, we're doing, there's a lot of stuff going on, and there are actually rational frameworks being stood up. And so Cube, even though it is corporate is based here in the United States, we are opening operations in Australia and then starting to work our way back westward. And that's very intentionally, not because it's so much easier in other jurisdictions, but it's actually clearer. And as an attorney and as a former regulator, I'm looking for clarity on how I can be on the right side of the law. And once I know the rules, I can, comply. But if we don't know the rules and it's like a free for all, like I think it is in the United States currently, except for FinCEN. FinCEN was one of the very first regulators that came out. And it's pretty clear where you stand and what you should be doing if you're an exchange. But otherwise, I think it is really a free for all, and there's a complete lack of clarity. And it's a given that everyone is going kind of offshore to set up their new businesses. And even established businesses are moving offshore. And it's not to avoid regulation. I think it's to move to places where
we could
there's
talk
better
about
regulation.
Samantha, maybe you could talk about that when we talk about like where are the opportunities in crypto. I think it's a relevant point to it. Are they in the US or are they actually abroad? So I just want to make sure.
And I'll let the others join in. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. No, there's a lot to say, but I appreciate it. We do need to get to some of the other folks. So Philippe, please.
Yeah, thanks. So Philippe Reynier, thanks a lot for having me. My background is quite non-traditional for an executive search guy, or at least someone who decided to move in executive search. Originally, I was with Boston Consulting Group in Switzerland, mostly covering strategy engagements with, well, financial services firms, and Switzerland being Switzerland, it's mostly wealth management. Moved to UBS, where I had like a number of, you know, executive positions, but always related somehow to digital and fintech. Started off being in charge of the team who built the corporate venture capital fund of UBS called UBS Next. And then I moved to be the head of digital strategy. And I had, well, mandates with three main pillars, which were setting defining the digital strategy together with you know, the management of the bank, deriving from that digital transformation roadmaps. So basically, what the bank should be investing in terms of digital products, digital features, etc., to make sure that the digital strategy that we've agreed on is actually delivered. And then the whole fintech partnership and investments piece. And the idea here was a bit, if that guy and his team define the digital strategy, derive the digital transformation roadmap from the strategy, probably they're the persons that are the best able to define which of those features should be built internally versus the ones that should be outsourced through partnerships with fintech. I've been already quite a bit exposed to the digital asset topic back then when I was at UBS, because my team, together with some other stakeholders within UBS, started defining the first, actually what ended up being the first digital asset strategy of UBS. Obviously, you know, without getting into details, and I can't really get into details anyways on that, you know, a lot of that so far has been more a theoretical exercise than something that has been implemented in reality, because you know, a lot of the large banks are at a very early stage when it comes to their crypto roadmap. There are some exceptions, obviously, in Switzerland and in the US, but most of them are in what I call a bit the POC / white paper stage, where there's a lot of great intentions, but what is actually being delivered on the market, actual products that can be used by customers, is very limited. And what led me to executive search, surprisingly, is a bit that through my mandate at UBS, I had to interact with a lot of fintechs, crypto companies in some cases, but also fintechs that have nothing to do with crypto, digital investing firms, neobanks, lending platforms, etc. And I got to know their CEOs and C-levels very well. And a feedback I got very often was a bit, whenever we raise funds, we invest in tech and we invest in people. The tech part we sort of know. It's not like it's easy, but we know what we have to do. The people part, when it's low to mid-management level, it's sort of fine when it's like, who are the, you know, right executives and C-levels that are really going to drive, you know, the roadmap and allow us to deliver on our ambitions, which is basically the main drivers of success of not only fintechs, but any company. They all told me it's a pain in the neck right now. It's super difficult to do it. And I sense a bit that there was an opportunity, together with the fact that I was interested by that space. So joined Sheffield Haworth to be the global head of fintech. Maybe a few words on Sheffield Haworth. You might or might not know that company, but it's one of the large executive search firms that is, you know, very international, headquartered in London, but with offices, you know, in all continents, including in the US, with offices in New York and Los Angeles. We are initially financial services specialists, but we've expanded in adjacent sectors, and especially relevant to today's discussion, we've very much expanded in tech, and we typically partner with, you know, executive management teams of large financial services and tech firms, and specialize in retained C-suite and executive level searches. And how is that related to crypto? Well, the role I have at Sheffield Haworth is global head of fintech, and crypto is one of our key focus areas. So typically and concretely, what this means is that we help, large and not so large in some cases, crypto businesses, whether they are exchanges, market makers, digital asset custodians, foundations, or whatever else, to be honest, or also traditional, banks and asset managers that want to do something in crypto. We help them find their next CXOs, their next, VPs, EVPs, etc. And I have to say, quite successfully so far, fortunately. So yeah, that's about it as an intro. Hope that positions it clearly.
Okay, no, that's helpful. And I think the other interesting thing is that clearly your clients are companies who are looking to hire candidates. And therefore, if you have a business, it's because people are actually looking to hire candidates. So which is positive because, I think to some of the other panelists' earlier point, crypto isn't yet dead. The rumors of its death are possibly still exaggerated. There's still activity beneath the surface, maybe a reset of the space. But those companies that are still out there building are maybe building much more quietly, and will come out, out on the other side of this winter, and maybe the industry will be a little more focused, which is not entirely a bad thing. But we'll I think Philippe will have some good experience in the next set of questions around what kind of careers are available, how should someone design their careers, so we can come back to you for that in particular. I'd like to go to Stacey next, who's an investor. So Stacey, could you please speak? Thank you.
Yeah, my background was in systems integration and automation. So I'm from the tech perspective. I started looking at the blockchain about 10 years ago. And when you showed up to something that was talking about the blockchain 10 years ago, it was truly all tech people. It was people conceptualizing real ideas on how this could impact the world. So it was there that I met my first business partner, Michael Hiles, and he was like, we're going to start a blockchain company. And I'm like, all right. So, we got together some investor money. I was some of the founding investor money in that. And we started building. That was 6 years ago. And right after that, we met another business partner whose interest was more in a safe way for crypto investment, right? Because at that time, there was a lot going on about so-and-so lost their key, and, this space, it just, the wallets weren't even readily available. And so we thought, okay, great, well, let's find a way to make this easier for investors. So we put together a hedge fund, which is the Cincinnati Crypto Fund. And we were fortunate along the way, again, at another tech-oriented meeting early on in the space, to meet some of the inventors of high frequency trading on Wall Street. And they had moved over to crypto and just finished testing their algorithms. And we had just raised a couple $1 million, and we were like, perfect. We had no intention on necessarily making our strategy about picking ponies, but so it worked out. So we are a fund of fund to their fund, and they're really well known in the space. They're called Hyperion, and they're running high frequency trading algorithms, which is definitely very new. And I think a lot of people go to them to kind of understand what their strategies are, because I think they are at the forefront. And of course, as a crypto hedge fund that's 6 years in, this is like dinosaurs, right? So that's going well. Along the way, we also, flipped open an exchange fund about 2 years ago. One of my partners is a tax lawyer / estate planner, and he was like, all these people are sitting on these big, these big gains, and wouldn't it be great if they could diversify without cashing out? So that's our exchange fund, where they, if somebody went from, $200 in Bitcoin to 2 million, and they decided, hey, I want to diversify, they can exchange a portion of their Bitcoin to us for a diversified holding in our portfolio. So that is our exchange fund, but we started that right as the crypto winter tanked. So nobody was sitting on large gains and wanting to diversify at that time. So we think our season is coming. for that fund, and we'll be looking to take that to market shortly. And I find this extremely interesting that we'd be on a panel that was probably not assembled for regulatory and compliance, but I do want to flip the switch back to 10XTS, which is the software company, because we have been building for the last 6 years a regulatory and compliant layer 1 infrastructure for capital market tokenization and interoperability. And I know that's a mouthful. There's a ton of people like Securitize or T0, which everybody's heard of, that have been at the forefront, like, we're tokenizing real estate, right? For all the promises of liquidity and distribution, which are all true. But we think that their thesis isn't as great as ours, because at the end of the day, they put it into your wallet and it sits there in a walled garden, and there's no distribution and there's no interoperability. And so we've really thought long and hard about how can the blockchain impact regulatory and compliance, distribution and interoperability, and liquidity. And at the end of the day, what most people miss about the blockchain is that it's a powerful tool for automation. It brings together disparate systems to be able to grab data in a decentralized place to facilitate that interoperability that we're talking about. So like right now, the way the trades are held and done, you've got an issuer, and then it goes to the broker, and then it goes to, maybe an exchange or an alternative trading system. And each one of those parties has, their own set of data. And what is it that enumerates that asset as the security that it is, besides all the regulatory compliance data associated with it, all the LP agreements, all the GP agreements, all the signatures that go onto those agreements. And currently those things are all like Nancy over here at the issuer pulls it out of her system and sends it over to Bob over there at the broker. And, all of this happens with all these disparate systems with redundant information. And so what we've done is we've created a layer 1 blockchain for governance, risk, and compliance data that can be provisioned in that interoperable way and cut the transaction fees, the redundancy of the data, and so forth. So we've actually tokenized the recordation of all the documents that enumerate that asset. And we have an ATS partner that we're integrated into, and we were the first to file a Form 10 of a fully digitized REIT. And we're waiting on the approval. We're going back and forth. It costs a lot of money with lawyers, and tried to get these approvals from the SEC because they have a lot of questions, and we've hopefully answered them to all of their satisfaction. Then I'd also like to add that, being early in the space has been very cumbersome, right? There's lots of legal fees. You're trying to comply with regulations that are not necessarily clear, but we have found the way. The Form 10 that we hope to get approved is a legal pathway of registering a fully digitized, tokenized security for secondary market trading. And we also, along the way, ran into custody issues, which is a huge deal right now. Everybody's talking, right? A bank doesn't want to hold custody of crypto. They definitely aren't even thinking about a digitized asset and holding custody. So a couple years back, we ran into that hurdle with our thesis, and we started and forged, the software company, a team to go out and get that SPDI Wyoming charter. So we are the recipient of a 4th SPDI charter in the state of Wyoming called Commercium Bank. And so the tech is being integrated into the bank because the thesis is that the bank will hold custody of these digitized securities. So we are the only bank in the state of Wyoming whose thesis is not to hold crypto, but to actually hold digitized securities like a real estate REIT, carbon credits. We just had a call today with a sports team. This is exciting, right? A sports team is going to fractionalize the ownership of a sports team in Luxembourg, and they are going to give each person ownership and to the decision making of the team. Like that, just, sometimes it's a boring Reg D, and sometimes it's something really cool like that. So we are tokenizing, but our real main priority and agenda here are to see the real promises of blockchain come full circle within the governance, risk, and compliance of the current constructs of the law right now. And we have been one of those companies that have been like behind the curtains, like there's a lot of people that hear what we're doing and they are just shocked and they're like, where have you been? And we're like, look, we've been trying to figure out the regulations. We've been trying to figure out the pathway and building the team. And all of those things were huge hurdles. Like if you've never tried to get a banking charter, especially a new one, it's not as exciting as it might sound. It's very expensive. It's very time consuming. And so that's a little bit about me.
Oh, that's great. I think one of the interesting things about the crypto space is it is new. There's a lot of uncertainty, which is good and bad. Good in the sense there's a lot of intellectual challenges with figuring things out. So people who like to figure things out, there's a lot of things to figure out in crypto. And so there's a lot of challenges in this space, certainly in the US, where I think the regulations are, and some of the other panels alluded to it, where there's a lot less clarity on these regulatory environments. Perhaps it's clearer abroad, including in Europe, where there's new regulation passed. Switzerland obviously is at the forefront of many of these regulatory decisions. But let's now go back to more about careers specifically in crypto. If I can go back to the beginning panelist, which was Brandon, and I want to focus more on the actual careers in crypto. So what kind of, and we may have to collapse some of the questions because we only have I think till the top of the hour, but we can extend it. And also if folks from the audience have questions, they can type in the questions in the Q&A. Unfortunately, we can't actually go to the audience in this format, but if there are questions, I can actually I can read them and discuss them with the panelists. So if there are questions, please let me know. But just in order to make sure we have time for the rest of the questions and really focus on careers in crypto. So I'll combine some of these questions and give every panelist time to answer them. But what kind of careers are available in crypto? What kind of what roles are employers hiring for? What are your specific organization or company is your company or organization hiring? And then related to that, how would a candidate, a student, whether it's a student, a new graduate, or experienced professional, how should they design their career around or education around crypto? I mean, I guess there are some courses one can do. Are they useful? Does it help? And I think a lot of people have been in this space and it's been very turbulent. And so is it even advisable really, for people to enter this space? So I presume there's still, is there still long-term space? What's the future of this space? And how will other technologies sort of add to this space, including, for example, AI? I mentioned earlier that AI is sort of the new thing. And I don't think it's an either or. There probably are lots of AI and fintech. I mentioned there's kind of an overlap between fintech, AI, and crypto in many ways in everything that we could do here. And so it's not either or. Maybe a lot of these skill sets kind of merge. But around those sort of questions, it's not really a yes or no question, but those sort of ideas and concepts, if the panelists could sort of discuss some of those, at least in the time that we have, that'll be helpful. If I could start with Brandon first, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, but I will be brief. So I'll just specifically.
We have time.
No, I'll specifically focus on the FBI and a career in the FBI. Obviously, it's very well documented out there at FBIjobs.gov what it takes to become an FBI agent. But we don't only have FBI agents. I'm a special agent with the FBI, and I'm more of a generalist, because not only do I have a niche of investigating cryptocurrency or matters involving cryptocurrency, but there's so many other items that I have to understand how to investigate cases, how to liaison with defense attorneys, prosecutors, how to do interviews, interrogations. There's so much involved in being an FBI special agent. And kind of the icing on top of the cake is I get a chance to do all that, plus be involved in a space that I really care about and enjoy, and that's the crypto space. But in the FBI, we have a lot more positions than agents. We have intelligence analyst, we have operational specialist, we have a computer scientist, data scientists, data engineers, We have forensic accountants, which are heavily involved within our organization on the tracing of the cryptocurrency, the illegal proceeds that we follow. And so there's a lot of positions available within the Bureau that you can find yourself once you open the door and get in our organization, that you can kind of focus on a niche such as cryptocurrency. So that's one way, and kind of in the background of all that, I wanted to highlight as it relates to a career in the FBI and cryptocurrency is the space of STEM, and that is engineering, computers, anything technology. Our organization obviously sees what is happening in this space and the people that comprise this space. They're very technically inclined, both the legitimate and the criminals. Both of them are equally good. And so equally, we have to match that expertise just so we can combat the threat, both here in the States and assisting our agency partners abroad. And so we really invest on applicants that have those pursuits or have that background of STEM related background. That's kind of one category. And once you get into the FBI as an agent or as another type of an employee, you can really leverage your skill set with computers, encryption, that your fundamentals of how blockchain technology works, and really pave the way for what you want to do and kind of write your own ticket. And there's a lot of opportunity. I do applaud our organization. We have embraced the space as far as enforcing it. I think as Samantha said, we are the enforcers. And so there's a lot of opportunity for people such as myself investigating cryptocurrency.
Great. And in terms of hiring, you mentioned there's a website, and I guess it's, there's constant hiring.
Constant, yeah. So FBIjobs.gov. Again, I'm an agent in the field, so I don't necessarily, I'm not part of human resources, but I did it 15 years ago, and it's possible if a guy like me did it. And so we are hiring. Again, it's not only an agent. There's so many specialities that you can get into the Bureau with. And if there's any college students on this call right now, the FBI internship program is a great entry into the FBI and also government service, because obviously a requirement, and again, we're talking about United States citizens, a requirement is you got to hold a secret bag or a secret clearance or some type of clearance to get in our organization.
Yeah, and the neat thing is you get a badge too, right?
We got a very cool badge. Yeah, that works. As an agent, I'm a law enforcement officer, so there's not only on crypto, but there's just a lot of opportunities that exist within our organization. So it's a great job.
Okay, fantastic. That's good to hear, because you hear a lot about layoffs and everything else that's going on in the private sector. But I think what the interesting is the government is always looking for talented people, regardless of how the economy is. It's not necessarily impacted in the same way.
Yeah, for sure. And again, as it relates to this space, the crypto winter, obviously the crypto winter doesn't really affect us directly, but we see the trends in crime, the criminals that use cryptocurrency, just like they use the US dollar. And we certainly have not seen any decrease in that as it coincides with the crypto winter. And again, we're talking about the movement of illegal funds via cryptocurrency. It's actually increased during this time, which I find very interesting.
Okay, sounds good. Can we go to Samantha, please?
Yeah, so I think there's still plenty of opportunity if you're interested in the space. And again, the larger space would be blockchain, right? And digital assets, and not necessarily in financial services, but across the board. Stacey mentioned, carbon credits and securities are, of course, financial services, but there's just so much that can be done with this technology. Registration of anything, of any asset, not necessarily securities, but there's just a lot of applicability in everyday life, and it does make things easier, right? The fact that there's an audit trail, the fact that that audit trail is relatively secure, because there are these cryptographic links to each transaction to a larger blockchain, and the fact that it's done near instantly and the information is distributed across these nodes, and that if one node goes down, it doesn't really matter. The rest of the nodes just carry on and they all have the same record. So and that's blockchain technology for you. And there have been, some major improvements on the technology itself and the speed and capacity for throughput recently. And there's a lot of great minds here. So I think there's plenty of room for people to get involved. There have been, really bad failures and layoffs. And again, there have been some sorting out of the personnel, I guess, in the space. But I really think that if you're interested in this space, you don't necessarily have to be a coder. Just most of us here on this call are not engineers or coders. And really, there's a need for all of the typical roles that you would see in any corporation. There's a need for marketing people. There are a need for just regular IT people that don't know how to do blockchain coding. There are blockchain coders. There are strategy people, lawyers, compliance people, operations. So it's just there are recruiters, human resources, in any kind of corporation. You'll find those same roles at a crypto firm. And then likewise on the government side, there are regulators, lawyers, law enforcement. So it's really the panoply of services that are needed, and a whole ecosphere that's not really that different from anything else except for DeFi. A true DeFi, it's really all about the code being set out there on its own and operating on its own. That's true DeFi. There's not a lot of true DeFi out there. There are a lot of humans still, or corporations or organizations standing behind what is supposed to be a DeFi organization. But that, leads to another whole can of worms. So I forgot what the other parts of your questions were.
Just to, and maybe it's a refresher for the others who still haven't spoken yet, but I think you talked about the types of careers available in crypto. But I think the other one is, how would a candidate, whether it's a student, a new graduate, or experienced professional, design their education or career, and the future of the crypto space, short, medium, long term, and also around new technology like AI, how's this going to change things? So anything you want to touch on that?
Right. So I would say, if you're interested in crypto, and this is how I did it, and I don't think it's necessarily wrong. Crypto is just a sliver, like a different kind of technology, a new emerging technology, which you should definitely learn about and kind of immerse yourself in learning. But I don't think, like, if you're a lawyer, there's, you need to, I would say go with your whatever career you're interested in and go ahead and develop that out, and then make your specialty in crypto. I think there's a lot of overlap in taking what is kind of old or traditional, whatever, and then applying it to crypto. So you're going to need to be, and I think we do need creative minds to be able to bridge from the old way, the traditional way of doing whatever, human resources, paying people in crypto, whatever the case may be, and translating it over into crypto. So I think your base skills, just pursue those base skills for that function, but then really learn about crypto and how it works and what the current problems are. I think making those kind of analogies and being creative about it is where it's at, because it's not all laid out. It's not like, oh, if you take this class on crypto, you'll be set. You'll know everything and you'll be set up. It's still very much evolving. And then I would say with technology, including AI, I think it's only going to actually be a great synergy with crypto, with blockchain technology, but it's just another technology. And I don't think folks should get too caught up in a specific technology, because there's going to be quantum computing and there's going to be, there's all kinds of different technology in different spaces, slowly but surely rolling out, right? And I think that AI and blockchain, I think AI will eventually have even more of an impact than blockchain technology on our society as a whole. But I think that, again, if you're interested in that, learn about that too, and learn about, the strengths, the weaknesses, and start making analogies on that side as well, and thinking about the impact on how things have traditionally been done. I think really your critical thinking skills are going to be the best skills that you're going to need in this field, versus some kind of harder education. The ability to think innovatively and flexibly is going to be the most important factor in your success.
Okay, that thank you very much. I think that's really great. I think that one of those points you made that I think is very relevant is that there are all types of positions available, whether it's marketing or even accounting. There's so many things within this space that all types of positions available. I think people often have this notion that it is, you have to understand this technology to be a coder, which is not true. And I think you have to have an interest in it, but this doesn't have to be your core. So I think that makes a lot of sense. We still have a few minutes left, and I'd like to turn to Philippe, because I think there's some audience questions. I think actually Philippe would probably be very well suited to answer some of these questions, which are in terms of really around that same question around, what skill sets do you need? Are there positions in strategy, for example, in crypto that aren't necessarily around the pure tech? And I think the other is geographical location. A lot of these positions that folks are talking about, they have some U.S. orientation, but clearly this industry is global. So Philippe, also, could you talk about the global space? There are certain areas in crypto that I think we're all familiar with that are quite at the forefront, whether it's Dubai, UAE, or Switzerland.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah,
UAE
exactly.
is a great example.
UAE, yeah, that are actually, the folks, there seem to still be a lot of activity in these other geographies. Maybe the China world is slightly a different universe right now, but elsewhere in the world, where are folks hiring? And just like, for example, Brandon spoke about the FBI. I think every large country will have their own government organizations hiring in a similar space, and so those opportunities, could exist in other countries as well. But please go ahead, Philippe.
Absolutely. So on the governmental roles, I can't really comment, to be honest. But maybe let me start by sharing probably one of the best career advice I ever received, which was from one of my MBA professors, which was, whatever you do, always try to be core business to the company that you're joining. And so, when thinking about the types of positions and careers that are possible at crypto companies, I think it's important to sort of, be thinking about that, and thinking, depending on the type of company, whether it's an exchange, whether it's a market maker, whether it's a custodian, etc., what is really core to their business. And obviously, a lot of the examples I'm going to give are financial services related, because that's what I do. But the same logic apply in the blockchain space, even outside of financial services. So few examples, but you know, if you look at market makers, for instance, like the likes of Wintermute, B2C2, GSR, for instance, you know, they'll be primarily hiring, or at least if you want to be core to their business, it's probably going to be around, you know, trading profiles, as well as quants who can develop pricing and risk management models, or even technologists who can sort of maintain trading platforms, APIs, etc. And, you know, just to contrast that with digital asset custodians, for instance. In digital asset custody, you know, obviously the tech components, I think in crypto businesses, it's important regardless of the crypto model. But in digital asset custody, probably one of the core function is sales. You know, if you can't really sell, you know, your custody infrastructure solution to whichever financial services firm, whichever in the world, you know, you don't have a business anymore, basically. So B2B experience, B2B and well-connected B2B salespersons who can, you know, who have those relationships or are able to build those relationships, who are able to manage long sales cycles, manage also the implementation dimension. You know, once you've sold those things, it's a whole project to actually integrate the solution within the infrastructure of the bank that is the client. You know, this is a special skill set, and this is really core to the business of those digital asset custodians. And so, you know, for each of the verticals, specific skills are, well, what is core is different. Specific skills, the skills that will be needed will be different. And I think candidates need to sort of be thinking about, you know, what do they need to bring to the table to be relevant to those companies. And then, you know, one of your other questions was specifically around skill sets. Huh? I think that, well, firstly, how can you start a career in crypto? Because a lot of the people who today work in crypto, they started in traditional financial services, and at some point they moved into crypto. I think they will soon be the first generation of young professionals that really start their career in crypto, which is something quite new. Some of the large crypto firms like Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, etc., they do offer internships or graduate roles, but it's still fairly uncommon in the crypto industry. And I think something else that is important to note is that it's a growing industry. It's growing fast. Maybe not so much recently, but it's been growing fast since it started. But it's still very, very small compared to traditional financial services, and especially in the number of jobs. So, you know, there will be specific skills needed if you want to join. But an alternative way could also be to just start in TradFi, where you can join large financial institutions, benefit from well-structured graduate programs, and there are some large financial institutions that are really interested in crypto, like BNY Mellon, Fidelity, State Street, etc., in the US. Huh? And then, you know, once you've built this experience and this credibility, you can progressively shift from TradFi to the world of crypto, whether it's an internal shift within your current employer or an external shift, that doesn't really matter, because you would have acquired this sort of experience and this credibility to make that move into the crypto space successfully. And I guess the last part of your question was on the future of the crypto industry.
I think you're frozen, Philippe. So
can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, it just came back.
Is it fine now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. So your last question was about the future, right? Of
the future AI, and also geography. I think we could just talk a little bit about geographical regions, which are useful.
So I think in terms of, you know, structurally, I think adoption of crypto, you know, it's a structural trend, and probably in 5 to 10 years from now, you will have most of investors, retail or institutional investors, that will have a small proportion of their portfolio invested in crypto. So this, well, at least I firmly believe into this, and it's good news. On the short to mid-term, there are other things that might have an impact, such as regulation, for instance. And, you know, there are regions of the world where the regulatory frameworks are much more crypto-friendly. Switzerland and UAE are really good examples, and they're becoming big crypto hubs. And other regions where things are getting a bit more complicated, and I think, well, sorry to say that, but clearly in the US, you know, things are getting complicated. And this massively drives talent flows, meaning, you know, which of the regions of the world where, you know, big crypto companies will expand and invest. And this, you know, has a one-to-one relationship with job creation in those specific regions. Something else to keep in mind, I think, is fundraising activity. because it's a great proxy for job creation. And over the last 2 years, obviously, it's not been as great as 2021, but the right firms still manage to raise funds successfully at reasonable valuation, even in the current market. I mean, in Switzerland, we have tons of examples like those ones, but like recently, Taurus in the digital asset custody space, Taurus raised 65 million for their Series B. Well, it's not a funding round, but like yesterday, Ripple announced that it just bought Metaco. In the crypto marketing space, there has been some huge funding rounds from Kiroc and Portofino last year. So, I think understanding well which are the areas of the crypto world where these funding rounds are still happening and targeting those companies as potential employers is also probably quite a smart way to approach it. So basically, what makes sense is targeting the regions of the world that are crypto friendly and targeting the crypto companies that have raised, substantial funds and therefore are the most likely to be hiring. That would be my main two places.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, great. We'll have time for our last person, which is Stacey, and then we'll probably have to close. Let me see if there's any other questions. That we can go to. So, Stacey, if you could please respond.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit I'd like to add to that because I know our panel is kind of geared towards the regulatory and the financial aspects, but I think there's a tremendous opportunity for NFT designers and Web3 designers. I think it opens up just a tremendous amount of opportunity for a designer to own their own stuff, right? And to monetize that, because part of what's so fantastic about the blockchain is the peer-to-peer interaction that it allows for, as well as for each person to own their own design or their photography or things like that. So I think there's just a huge opportunity for entrepreneurs who are creatives. And I think that's worth mentioning because I think this is going to allow for musicians and artists and like I said, photographers and so forth to really get out there and to monetize their work and to keep control over the IP of their work, which has never been seen before. So that's worth a mention. I didn't know if you had an additional, other than that, we always need blockchain developers. We spend a tremendous in the last 6 years. I know everybody on my team has spent a tremendous amount of effort trying to educate as many people as possible because it's a big disruptor. It's going to disrupt every industry. And as much as you'd like to say, like, go ahead and pursue the traditional route, I don't know. In college, a 4-year time span's a lot. I think that this space is progressing quicker than people realize. I think there's a ton of people that are, it's an infrastructure. So we've all been building for 6 and 7 years. And by the time adoption happens, it's a massive disruption happening quickly to the average person. So I would highly encourage everybody to take advantage of, the certificates that are out there at the universities. Like right now, the University of Cincinnati, which I am super proud of. I am an alumni of there. My son goes there, and I've encouraged him to take that certification. There's a blockchain certification. And I think that, regardless of whatever career path you choose and degree that you're seeking, there's a lot of options for those certificates popping up. And I know for the University of Cincinnati, they've really got a diverse coursework that it's in like, a class in the legal aspect, a class in the technology aspect, it really gives a large overview by the time you get done with just that little certificate to be able to apply how your degree, whatever that is. And even for my daughter, she wants to be a lawyer. I'm like, look, you better start thinking about the blockchain. You better start thinking about, AI and these things because AI is going to disrupt law firms, right? And just even on that topic, because I know we touched on this briefly, AI is coming and people think that AI and blockchain are not very related. But here's the thing, coming from a systems integration and automation background, I was used to working primarily in manufacturing, where widgets were going across a bunch of different types of systems, a conveyor system, a vision system, these different systems. And they were early adopters in tying those systems together to allow for them to communicate. But at the end of the day, it would dump data in one big giant thing. And so I know we've all heard this word data science, right? Big data. Well, it's big data because you have these individualized systems that may be able to just dump data into what they call a data lake. And then there's science that has to be applied to that to even make sense of it, to make algorithms or any type of automation. But in the future, with even like what we're doing at 10XTS, it's an infrastructure, right? It consolidates the data into a block, right? And it organizes data in a different way, whether it's the security or a supply chain, from raw materials to the point of sale. If you can organize that data in an infrastructure, and it cuts out the long data science and the data lake dumping, and it takes AI quicker and faster to the point to make decisions. So, even in the sense of traders using, data, it's really a game changer. I think I heard in some article that, between the blockchain and AI, it's like two industrial revolutions at once, right? And it's happening quick. So I don't know where you were going with the question, but I do want to throw those things in after everybody else had something to say, because I think from a college person's perspective that, everybody needs to be learning about this. It is going to disrupt every industry from supply chain all the way to the financial industry. And it's worth learning about from a tech perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I just saw one question. I just wanted to respond to that. The questioner asked, are experienced professionals, is there a space for them in this industry? How would you respond to that? What kind of experienced professionals could get into this space?
I mean, I know where I started, right? I just wandered out and showed up to like a blockchain thing, and it was like 5 people. Okay. 7 years ago, 8 years ago, there was like a bunch of dorks showing up, tech people. And I was a business person in systems integration and automation. Not that I don't understand tech, but I had a thirst to learn and understand. And, I know my son's the same way. At 22, he's trading crypto, he's doing DeFi. He shows me things, about Web3 that's coming, that AI tools. I mean, all of that is out there. You just have to just step out on the ledge and start learning. And I think our children are self-learners. I mean, I used to have to go next door to get an encyclopedia to get information, right? So like now I'm showing my age, but at the end of the day, these young kids have access to information, and they've grown up with access to information. They YouTube everything. They have no problem learning. And so I would just I would encourage people to really step out on the ledge and self-learn. The opportunity is unlimited. I mean, it is so unlimited. There is a way to become an expert. No one's an expert right now, right? The space is maturing, the information's available, throw yourself into the information, start learning, connect with people in the community. And I think that, you'll see the job opportunities come to life, right? Because I think what we need are people that are excited about learning, because the space is going to continue to grow and evolve and change and adapt. So that's a core feature of what we need in somebody that is going to step into the space. I know that's me.
Right? No, I think that's I think it's actually a very optimistic note.
Shantanu, maybe to add on that, specifically there are areas of the crypto space that really would require specifically experienced professionals that come from TradFi, and where people that have always worked in crypto will never be a fit. And I'm specifically thinking about the risk and compliance area. I've been working with a number of clients that wanted to, that moved from not having a banking license to trying to get a banking license. And in that specific case, if you're trying to put in front of a regulator, a guy that has always been in crypto with a very different culture from that of a regulator, etc., it's not going to fly. And typically, if you miss your first try at getting a banking license, the second one is harder, the third one is harder, and the fourth one, forget about it. So, especially in those kind of positions, getting someone, so a senior banker that has been working in risk and compliance for a big chunk of their career, has existing relationship with the regulators, etc., makes a lot of sense. So there are, and that is just one example, but there are many possible bridges between TradFi and crypto for experienced professionals.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that's
Note, our banking team came from HSBC. At least some of them from regulatory and compliance. So very valid.
makes sense. Do Samantha or Brandon have any last words, so we'll wrap up in a minute here? Any parting comments before we close up?
I of course completely agree with Philippe. I mean, I came from regulation and I came from compliance in banking. So there's definitely a place to bridge over and really kind of bring the two sides together. I found to be like an honest broker, or like to be able to translate to the regulators, this is what crypto is saying, and this is what's special about it, and this is what's unclear in our current regulations, how they don't really match, right? But on the other side, I'm able to say, here's what regulators are concerned about. This is why regulations exist for, having it safe for consumers, financial stability, whatever the regulatory policy is behind the long laws and regulations. There is like a very simple explanation for why those things exist, and being able to translate that back and forth to both sides is incredibly useful and empowering, actually, to the person that's able to take that unique position. So again, I think it's important to, as others have said on this call, be curious, teach yourself, ask questions, and learn, keep up with the new stuff. But there are some very tried and true skills to learn from your traditional path as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Brandon, anything last minute or so you want to add before we wrap up?
Just a brief comment. And I think the theme was diversification of a young person's life. Samantha mentioned, her son in college, and I'm certainly dealing with teenagers. And we talk about diversification and just getting a broad range, following your passions. And then once you get your foot in the door with a company or a space or an agency, then you can start to look at where the opportunities are and follow those pathways from there. But it certainly starts with curiosity, initiative, and just a desire to be in this technical space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks to the audience for being with us. Thanks, Crypto Valley, Suzesh, for helping us organize this. And thank you to the panelists for a very engaging discussion. So hopefully we'll see you next time at one of these. Thank you. We'll wrap it up here.
Thanks for having us.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.